Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
And how are you guys doing today?
Good.
We are live uh, in the Jesus TV program called Jesus in the Mess. And we're going to have a 30-minute episode today. And Emily's going to find Jesus in that mess. She's setting up. And we'll also find Jesus in the mess of our conversation. And so anyone have a theme or topic they'd like to introduce? Any thoughts about Jesus? We can find him in the silence too, so it's okay to have episodes that are just dead silent. Sometimes you can't hear Jesus, like, where are you? He's there. The darkness comprehendeth it not. I think the silence comprehendeth it not. Hello, darkness, my old friend. Well, if you're working with Jesus, sometimes it's hello, silence, my old friend, whose name is Jesus. So.
Well, I actually go ahead, Emily. Do you have something?
Nope, you go for it.
I wrote a poem about silence a long time ago. Do you guys want to hear it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up on my regular computer so that I can not phone's doing with recording. Yeah, I think I turned off my hotspot.
Sometimes with messes, you have to just start all over. So that's what I'm doing right now. This it's all dried and it's a mess. So you just have to scrape it all off and start again.
And how can you tell that needs to start again rather than
Because it's dried. I wanted to do this a couple weeks ago and I keep forgetting. That's honestly, I usually do this like every time actually. So I just have to razor blade it off.
So I see. So you've laid down some materials.
Well, this is just paint. This is dried oil paint.
Okay.
So I just have to clean it up and start again. And I know we've talked about this in the past a little bit, but the whole idea it's really amazing what Jesus does for us, that we can make big messes like this. Like sometimes I think we cause our own messes. Sometimes other people cause the messes, but the fact that we can, that he can help us start all over every moment and every day, I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
He made it possible to learn. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jonathan. You ready?
No, I'm looking for it still. I was just going to say sometimes it's hard to have it be okay inside of you that something has to end. And like, but it's okay in his economy. Like that's all right. It's like it takes a while before you can start into something that can be eternal and have it go from day to day to day, continue, and have it become something that reflects him. It's like it probably took to learn how to paint and to make something look like what you.
Yeah.
I was going to share a poem, but go ahead, Emily. I hear you.
I was going to say, it's, well, I kind of think with messes, there's always a few different parts, because there's you who makes the mess, but sometimes you're on the receiving end of the mess, and it's not you. It's not your choices. It's just, a lot of times it has to do with family situations. You get it sometimes with where you live or who you live by. And so I feel like forgiveness is something I've done some artwork about before. more realistic stuff I've done. Like I've done like prodigal son paintings and stuff. And there's kind of this, when I did it, it was the son forgiving the father, because there was this whole idea of you have to, I don't know, forgive those who've come before you. And even though they've done some of them have done some really terrible things, it's like, if you don't forgive, it's like you can't be free. Is kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, you can't start again because you get stuck in that mess. And so whoever left that board messy like that, they left you, and that was your previous self. Look what they left. Now your current self has to clean that up.
Yeah, and sometimes, it's not even your mess. So for example, yesterday, one of my kids found a Sharpie marker and thought that would be a fun thing to draw everywhere with. And so I'm like, no, you can't draw with markers anymore. And he's like, but I'll be good. I'll draw on the paper. And my 5-year-old, he's come in sometimes when I paint it. And I'm like, no, I can't trust you with that. And he's like, well, how do you know it was me? I was like, well, it wasn't Dad. And it wasn't Jason or Seth, because they don't do that. They're like 10 and like 12. They don't do that. He's like, oh. But like, so but then it's like really hard to clean up. And so it's like, we have to do all this work. I mean, we can try it. We can make him try to clean it, but he's not going to be able to get it. Like, he just can't. He's a little kid. And so it's like, so then you're like just having to spend this time cleaning up after him. And you know what it's like to be a parent, though. You're just cleaning up after your kids. But then when they get older, they kind of have to clean up after you, like kind of like the mess that you made of your kids. And I think it's this cycle that just goes around and goes around and goes around.
Yeah, that's right. The messy development cycle, I guess. You're right.
But if there wasn't any messes, you'd never be able to develop, I guess, is what I'm saying.
That's true. I like that theme that so when you have little kids, they're bringing mess into your life, but they don't know it. You're dumping mess on them in a deeper measure. And it could be you're dumping it on them maybe with your anger. You guys are making such a mess. Well, you're just making a mess right now of their head and their heart. Yep.
So I found that poem.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
So it sounds like there's a bit of a lag, so just
I
kind of
can
keep
hear
that
you.
in mind.
Yeah, I'll listen for
I
you.
also-
I'll tell you that if you need to go to voice only, but you're okay right now.
So I also realized that I don't have the words to it. I just have a YouTube video, and so I'm just going to play it, and you'll have to listen. And I'll just turn the mic towards my computer here.
Okay.
Hopefully it works. Let's see. The Rise of Silence by J.A. McCormick. They believe that they are right, yet little do they know the power of silence, though immersed and surrounded by it. They rarely notice.
Jonathan, you'll have to start it again. Emily, you and I can turn off our mics until the poem's done. No, it's fine. Zoom's just trying to decide where to put its emphasis. So I'll turn my mic off. You turn. Okay, Jonathan, I think you're ready. 5, 4.
The Rise of Silence by J.A. McCormick. They believe that we are no threat, and they are right. Yet little do they know the power of silence, though immersed and surrounded by it. They rarely notice, and certainly never give ear. For there is too much to say, too much to do, too little time. They are too busy doing good to hear. While all the while silence grows with deafening stealth, until silence only knows. But those who listen hear and wait. For the end we all suppose. The end when noise has worn itself out, when words have had their say, when scheming, toiling, and anguish cease, and all that's left is deathly silence. That will be the day when silent hearts are still, and noise is done away, and then break forth eternal day, when silence speaks, and earth bursts forth in radiant life, the fruit of silent suffering souls, thrice proven through woeful noise, and then crying, weeping, covering ears, the chattering horde will hide in rocks and hills and corn whiskey stills, with the one thing they can't abide, for hide as they will, the silence still will find them there and chase them, God only knows where, till silence reigns from plain to plain, and peace be our reward for bearing the grief of their unbelief in silence. Yes, they believe that we are no threat, and they are right. All right, that's it.
Okay,
I'm not-
Mike's back on there, Emily.
Yep.
And you
I
could
would love
probably
to see that. I'd love to see that written down. I have a hard time. I really liked it, but I have a hard time remembering all the parts that I liked.
I'll write it down. I'll post it to my blog, and then I'll send you guys a copy too. So,
tell us about
Yeah.
it, though, Jonathan, if you can, roughly.
yeah. So I wrote it. I was thinking about John Rockefeller things. I had read a little biography of him, really compelled by the story. Of course, I was raised by a conspiracy theorist, so I didn't have much good thoughts about the Rockefellers, but I thought how it is that it's like it seems like those who desire peace and truth and all of that, it's almost like there's not much you can do about conspiring behind closed doors. It's like there's people who rant and rave, and nowadays so much like it's it seems pretty futile to try these things.
Okay,
So you just
hold on just a second. Emily, let's turn off our mics and see if, because
Okay.
I
Because he keeps
noticed,
cutting out.
yeah, I think the background noise just does. So I'm gonna turn. Go ahead, Jonathan, in 5, 4, 3.
All right, I'll make this quick. So basically, I found myself thinking it's like, when kind of like that scripture that says when wickedness rules, the people mourn. And that was kind of the thought. It was like it's like I'm not a person to I'm definitely not political, and I don't I haven't fought that fight of fighting, wicked people in high places, but I found myself thinking about how it's like what came into my mind were those words. They believe that we're no threat, and they're right. The powers that believe that just like the powers that be in Christ's time, they thought that it's like, well, we have the power and we can just kill this Christ fellow, and but they didn't realize the power of silence. It's like things, the intangibles are everything. So it's like Christ lived this little life and touched this little group of people in this little place on the earth. And it was not just the things he said, and it wasn't just the things he did. It was the silent experience that he had and that people had with him, which then changed their hearts. And then because they were changed, they touched other people who touched other people who touched other people who touched other people until the knowledge of Christ has just flooded the earth. And so that was the idea with the poem, is this idea that it's like there are those who have so much to say and they clamor and they make their points made and they make sure that they win. And But in the end, the one thing they can't stand is that voice that speaks out of silence, that speaks out of the unheard, unseen place. It's the one thing they can't plan for, but it's there and it always wins, but it wins with time and through patience. That was kind of what I had in my mind. I'll turn it back. So
I love it. And makes me think of the description of God's voice, the still small voice. And of course, God can be loud too. He says in the last days, he's going to talk with thunders and lightnings. And I believe he's already doing that. So the emphasis he's put recently on my heart is that the days of tribulation are occurring right now. The earthquakes are happening inside people's souls. And those are some of the most substantial earthquakes that he can talk to people. The disturbances of anxiety, fear. And so I think he just wants me to be aware of that as I also wait for literal earthquakes, literal lightnings that he was reminding me that he speaks poetically. And so the voices you're talking about could be part of that echo, is that the very noisy society we live in. We live in a marketplace society where there's a lot of low here, low there. You need this, you need that. Hey, if you're going to be ready. And I've been noticing recently, like if you look at Russell Brand or you look at Glenn Beck or all these different commentators, they're trying to get people's eyes, get people's attention, and spooking people is probably the best way sometimes to get their attention. And so they have kind of spooky things to say. You could say exciting things that are happening. It's not like, hey, what's going on, Glenn Beck? Not much. Yeah, but I got this program. We're going to talk about Jesus. Oh, okay. Well, I don't think I'm going to watch that. No, instead, he's got a sign that says, I can't believe this, or you'll never believe this. Like, whoa, really? And then you see what you can't ever believe. And you realize, oh, there's deep state. They're doing stuff, like you said, behind closed doors and so forth. So, yeah, it's interesting to take the poetic imagery you are of silence, the opposite of loud noises and sound, and to probe that with your poem. That's me. That's it on my side.
Actually, what it reminded me of, I didn't take it politically at all. What it reminded me of is just I was kind of tying it in my head to like the conversation we've been having about forgiveness and with parents and kids, and it also reminded me of the scripture. Dark things come to light. There's a lot of things that I think all of us go through stuff where it's like hidden or dark. Like you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. Like you said, you don't know that about homes and families. You don't know what goes on. I mean, religiously, you don't know. I mean, you see it at work, you see it everywhere. There's always things that go on that, like, I don't know about. People don't know about. And then sometimes we hear about these things and sometimes we don't. But the thing that comes down to is, you see that these bad things happen, and then it's like, well, I guess the question I'm asking is, how can Jesus help us through those hard things? Because they are going to happen, and they do happen, and they have happened. It's not like bad things never happen. Like bad things happen all the time and have throughout all of history. And a lot of times, sadly, it is from people that are close to us. So I'm thinking about personal things and hard things like that. And so again, it's like when you're in these really dark places, which is why I'm painting really dark right now. When you're in these really dark places, like, what do? How do you heal from that? I would love to hear any stories about that if you guys have any.
I want to share a poem, but go ahead to Jonathan's. Jonathan, you had your hand raised. Respond to that.
I'll make a quick response, and then I will, and I'll try to speak up a little bit so that it's just my voice. my response was just like, it was interesting when I wrote the poem because it started with this weird thought about this article I'd read about John Rockefeller. Like most of the poems I write, it goes in a totally different direction. I just kind of follow it. And it led into silence instead of leading into the other place. And the answer that I had, or the thought that I had to Emily's thought, was that I think that it's silence that we find him. And it's like, well, of course, I'm generalizing many ways and places, but I think it's like you don't hear a still small voice unless you listen, and you don't listen until you kind of start, that that like that you can't see anymore. And it's like, and now it's like you're feeling your way in the dark and you're listening. So it kind of brought it full circle in my mind like, what do you do with chaos and darkness? Well, all the more when you listen for that thing that's underneath it all, that will bring you again towards order, or towards, that was the thought that was in my mind.
Well, what I have to share is a poem. It's a verse, it's a song from Don Henley that I saw tie into some of the themes that Emily was emphasizing early on. This guy's life is in a mess and he's trying to process it. Well, baby, there you stand with your little head down in your hand. Oh my God, you can't believe it's happening again. Your baby's gone and you're all alone and it looks like the end. And you're back out on the street and you're trying to remember, oh, how do you start it over? You don't know if you can. You don't care much for a stranger's touch, but you can't hold your man. You never thought you'd be alone this far down the line, and I know what's been on your mind. You're afraid it's all been wasted time. The autumn leaves, the autumn leaves have got you thinking about the first time that you fell. You didn't love the boy too much. No, no, you just loved the boy too well. Farewell. So you live from day to day and you dream about tomorrow. Oh, and the hours go by like minutes and the shadows come to stay. So you take a little something to make them go away. And I could have done so many things, baby, if I could only stop my mind from wondering what I left behind and from worrying about this wasted time. Another love has come and gone, and the years keep rushing on. I remember what you told me before you went out on your own. Sometimes to keep it together, we've got to leave it alone. So you can get on with your search, baby, and I can get on with mine. And maybe someday we will find that it wasn't really wasted time. And so I'll just quickly share the interpretation for me. My first greatest fear in life is to have a boring life, or you can call it wasted time. Don't have a wasted life. And so this is a fear that haunts me all the time, you know. And redemption sometimes is redeeming the mess. You're like, well, hold it, but that's in the past. You just had a wasted marriage or a wasted relationship. But that's the power of Christ, is he can do what Emily's doing, taking something that was a mess and start redeeming it, start in the process of taking what looks like it's solid, immovable, and re-engaging with it. So anyways, there you go. That's the poem song.
I had a thought, but I don't remember it anymore. So you guys can keep talking.
No, that's okay. We got 5 minutes.
Oh, I got it.
Okay,
so I really like the idea of silence and waiting, because I was thinking, Jonathan, like you said, but like God is in the silence, Jesus is in the silence. I mean, that's why there's things like mindfulness or like meditation. Sometimes I think that's why I have the best ideas in the middle of the night or early in the morning. It's like this silent time before my mind has engaged with everything in the day. It's before it's everything. And that's also why I like doing art and things, because it takes my attention in this silent way. I don't necessarily think a lot when I paint. I kind of just like feel a lot, if that's it. So, and I think that, I don't know, that was just kind of what I was thinking. It's just the power of silence, but also the, yeah, or
The,
like how you said, Greg, sometimes like leaving it alone. Like, so this painting here, I kind of just did this really fast, but I also kind of like this. It's very, there's kind of like a face on it. I tried to do a whole bunch of other little heads here, but they don't look like heads yet. Um, I don't know, but I kind of like it in its weird way. Anyways, you can keep going.
any thoughts, Jonathan?
Yeah, I like it. I like how things just kind of show up. You know, it's like we don't plan. That's the idea. That's that's where silence leads us, right? Is that if we listen, I'm fascinated with that with my poetry. Like the thought that comes in the beginning, where it ends. It has its own mind. So I'm a part of it, and and the the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, and I probably, like other spirits, it's like there's part of my father in me and part of my mother in me, and maybe sometimes only half, I'm only part me. What is me? I don't know. It's like, but in silence, listening for what is best, and we're allowing something else to guide, just like when a father and mother come together, it's like father come together and make a child. So what is the child? Is it a child of God? The Father? Well, it's just a mixture, because let go to a creative force. And so I'm with you as far as that goes. It's like I love I think that's the spirit of best of what art has to offer. So
Well, we got 2 minutes left.
I know. I'm like, I need way more time on this painting.
That's okay. We can come back. We'll do it next week.
I know. I might work on it later. We'll see. Because the stuff I put on here, I can wipe it off while it's wet, but once it dries, I'll have to start the whole process again. I have to just maybe scrape it off and start all over again. So I don't know. We'll see if I actually have a lot going on today. I don't know. I kind of just like want to put something there. Um, I don't know. I want to do something different with my art. I don't like, they're all just faces. I want to start adding like multiple figures, because even in the silence, even when you're alone, you're not alone. I just haven't figured out a way to do that without it looking like really ghosty. Um, but maybe ghosty's not bad. I had a painting once that I did. Oh, do I have it here? Oh, I might actually. I don't think it's this one. I think it's up in my garage in my other stacks. But there's one where I was painting a painting, and one of my kids was like, "Is Jesus a ghost? Because that looks like a ghost." And I was like, "Well, kind of, And I don't know. So sometimes I like to take like Ghost. The idea of Ghost have always been terrifying to me. I hate horror movies. I hate, like, that whole thought is just scary. And sometimes I like to take those things that are scary and turn them into something, kind of amazing. Because like darkness, I've always been scared of the dark. Like, I don't know if you guys are, but I am ever since I was little. Like, I don't like walking outside at night when it's dark. I don't like walking around like a dark house. We have like little auto night lights like all along the floor everywhere, just because darkness, sometimes silence is amazing, but sometimes it can also be very scary and just kind of terrifying. And I mean, you can take that so many different ways, but it can be so terrifying. Um, but again, in those terrifying moments are again, where I look to Jesus and where I look to different things. I don't know. That was just my thought. I thought are find Jesus in the silence. Create some silence in your life to have those moments of thought. I guess that would be a good thing for this week.
Yeah,
What I need to do.
that's so the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has one of the best little clip movies. You can find it #HearHim. Do that YouTube search and it just talks about shutting things down to hear him, and it emphasizes that basically there is a voice, but sometimes you have to shut down all the other distractions to hear it well, and so that's tied, of course, to silence. So I think we can call this episode Jesus. Well, we could just call it In the Silence. Do we have
In the silence.
common consent on that? Okay, good. Anything else you want to say, Jonathan? Or I'm done. Jonathan.
I know we're over, so I'll make this fast. But the truth is that this will be something for another time. But spiritual.
Let's just a second. Emily, can you turn off your mic? I'll turn off mine. It's okay. Then you go ahead, Jonathan. 5, 4, 3.
All right, so I'll make it quick. So just people are often afraid of what's in this in the place they don't know. So they see darkness oftentimes as just the thing they don't know. And I found oftentimes people are leery of any sort of spiritual experience. But the truth is that even though the devil and his angels are out there in the unknown, so is God and his. He's also in the unknown, and he can be just as scary. But you can never find him unless you're willing to step into the darkness as best you know how, humbly, listening, knowing that you may get it wrong, but seeking to hear that which is spoken out of that place of unknown. And that's also the place of silence. And it will surely lead you places that you wouldn't normally go. And most people don't want that. So there's a discussion for another time about the spiritual life, about everything that surrounds that, because it's quite a road to navigate. But my feeling is it is the way to God. It's like we have to risk, we have to listen, knowing that we will make mistakes, but desiring to hear his voice. So anyways, I know you've got to go, Emily. I think we're okay, 10:03, so we're not too far over, but that's my last thought. So
Emily, if you have anything else, Emily, share it, then we'll end it.
Yeah, I would like to continue this conversation another week as well. Continue like silence and that whole thought process, and also Jesus in the dark and the scary things. I was just thinking about how I've known very few people who have actually seen Jesus, but the ones that I know who have, it's always been in like the worst, darkest, most terrible moments that you can imagine or circumstances. And I think there's maybe a reason for that. That was just like my closing thought.
Excellent. Well, then, till we meet again, God is with you. Jesus is with you. The universe is with you. The Great Spirit is with you. Light and truth is with you. Seek those things.